Welcome to The Buzz. I'm your host, Valtteri Salomaki, and today we have the special guest, Gerson, who is the owner of J'Bez Barbershop and also a UCR alum. So to get started, this show, we have 4 beers here. So each beer is gonna go up in percentage. We're gonna end with a nice little dessert beer, but we're gonna get started with a nice local beer from Redlands. It's called the Hangar 24. So let's get started with this. Is there any kind of cheers you usually do in El Salvador?
No, we just do it.
Nice cheers. All right, we'll go straight to the cheers.
All right.
So to get this started off, a little bit about your background. So you're a UCR alum, but let's go a little bit like back from there. So you're originally from El Salvador, so tell us a little bit about that.
So I was born in El Salvador and had like a crazy story of how I actually got to the US. But you know, I came here at 5 as an immigrant. It's one of those that we crossed the border, kind of like the movies. And we had a hard time when we first got here. I didn't speak English. I learned it, you know, pretty fast. But from there, I had a lot of struggles because I just grew up with my dad and my dad's side of the family. So I missed out on my mom's side of the family with my sister. So it was a bit different for me growing up compared to, you know, friends and associates. But from the moment I left El Salvador till the moment I got here, I felt like that was one of the biggest impacts of my life to the reason where I am today.
Okay, so like that kind of whole journey of coming to America, following kind of like the American dream, you know?
American dream.
Kind of following that, but how did that kind of lead you to come to UCR and study business and kind of what you're doing now?
Well, when I came to LA, you come to LA where if you're in downtown LA, you're gonna see a guy with a suit.
Yep.
You know, a guy with a suit and the suitcase. And I always wanted to be that guy, you know, dressed up nice, going to business. So I was always into business.
Yep.
I never even heard about Riverside. I'm originally from Palmdale, and the only reason I applied to Riverside is because of a counselor in high school. I wanted to go into business, but I was applying to my dream schools. And again, they were just dream schools because of the hype. I didn't really know anything about it. So I wanted to apply to UCLA, you know, UCSB, etc. And my counselor gave me a great point. She said, you know, like, what do you want to study? I said, eventually business. Originally I came in for accounting. I'm good at numbers, so that's what led me to business. And she said, like, there's no business school in these schools. And I didn't even know that. So without talking to her, I would have probably made a wrong decision at my school because I probably would have gone into econ, you know, major instead of a business major. So she recommended UCR. At the moment, UCR wasn't, you know, it was up and coming. It still was up and coming, but they didn't have a solidified business school like they do now. So she said, this is a good business school, very diverse. You fit the background, apply to that one. And so, you know, I did. Because of her, I applied to this as well as other Cal States, but it fit perfect. I think it was almost destined to come here because I remember the letter of statement to get in. It was to explain your background. You know, so my background is very unique, and again, like you said, I lived the American dream. I wanted to live the American dream, so I applied and I got in, and I loved it because I met all types of, you know, ethnicities, all type of races, all type of people.
Different backgrounds, everything.
Correct. So I loved it. I absolutely loved it because I was not exposed to it from where I came from. Plus, you know, it took me a while to get residency plus citizenship, so I couldn't really travel to other places and meet, you know, new cultures and meet new people. So this is a good, you know, a good first step to doing that.
100%. And like during your time at UCR, so what was your concentration in the school of business? Was it management or was it?
I finished off with marketing. So like I said, I originally came in as an accounting. Took some accounting classes, took business 10.
You're like, hello.
No, it's not for me. I didn't like the whole 12 to 15 hour shifts and, you know, cubicle. I can do the long shifts, I just cannot do it in a cubicle. I realized I'm more of an outgoing, talkative person. So somebody recommended marketing because, you know, you're going out and helping businesses and, you know, creating strategies to make their sales or revenue go up. And I always like that, you know, I'm dealing with numbers still, but more strategic. So that led me to marketing, but I also want to do management. So I concentrated in marketing, but also took management classes. So marketing was definitely the right choice, I would say.
What was your favorite class that you took at UCR?
At UCR?
At UCR.
Okay.
We'll go into your study abroad in a second, but what was your favorite class at UCR?
Depends, because I've had really good teachers that actually took their time and wanted to get to know me. But I would say, I think it's Business 112, Business 111. It's a service class.
Oh, okay. Marketing services.
Yeah, marketing services. And that was my favorite class because that's the first time I got to even meet an entrepreneur.
Okay.
A successful entrepreneur. And the first thing he told us in class was, don't mind me yawning, don't mind me sleeping. I go every other week to Europe for my business. And Europe is my dream place. So after class, I asked him how he did it, and he took the time and spoke to me. But he was a very busy man. I had 2 minutes with him, so I would make the most out of those 2 minutes. But the reason why that was my favorite class is because it helped me with my business that I have now. It's a service class, so it didn't only teach you how to treat a customer or how to make a sale, but it also taught you what it is that a service provides. It's an experience. So that's where I got the whole idea of making a service an experience. So I really liked that class because he taught us real life situations and he used his businesses as examples. Okay. So I really learned a lot from that class. It was one of the first classes that he said to not buy a book. We're just gonna learn through PowerPoint, through talking and presentations, and I absolutely love that.
I think that's one of the most valuable things when it comes to college education is the practical value and not doing from the textbook what is theoretical but actual from practice. So that's awesome that you got the experience to work with an entrepreneur. So before we go into your study abroad experience, we're gonna go into the next beer. The next beer here is it's going up a little bit. So this was like a nice 5%.
This is definitely
nice, nice and easy. Next one's going straight to 8.7%. We're just spiking it right up. So this one is from San Diego. It's a brewery in Escondido. I love this brewery. Honestly, my favorite brewery.
This is back home. Huh?
Yeah, this is back home. This is my favorite one. This is actually a seasonal one. It's an Imperial IPA, which is one of the strongest drinks you can get for beer. But it has hints of pineapple. You'll taste like the pininess of it. So. Cheers to that.
Brother. Definitely taste the pineapple.
Oh yeah. And the thing with this beer is it's 8.7%, but it doesn't kick like an 8.7%.
It's smooth. It's very smooth.
You gotta be a little bit careful.
Yeah. A few of these and
you're done.
Don't take me back to where.
Exactly. So going off of your experience at UCR, you also did a study abroad. So tell us a little bit about your study abroad.
All right, this is my favorite part of this. I could talk forever about this just because it was my life-changing trip.
Okay.
Europe is my dream place. So the reason why that services class was so impactful in my college career and why I consider it my favorite class, because he showed me international business. And that's something that I got interested in because that's when I started to see, hey, maybe I could do study abroad and try it over there. So he piqued my interest. He pushed me to actually look. So in that class, one day after I got out of that class, I went to the UCR International Affairs, and that's where they have the whole study abroad program.
UCAP.
Yeah. Now, my freshman year wasn't the best. So my GPA wasn't at the top of the list. So I had a lot of difficulties applying to a UCR study abroad program.
Yep.
I almost gave up the chance. It was actually amazing how it happened because I basically gave up the chance. But we have incredible advisors that I absolutely love, and they didn't give up on me. They kept emailing me like, hey, I know you want to go study abroad, and you seem very passionate about actually going to this trip. So I know you don't fit the UCR or the UC requirements. You're not on top of that list there, but there's other ones that you can go to. So I did OBA or OAB, other abroad programs, OAP, yeah. And that's when I applied to a opening in Barcelona in Spain. And I'm a soccer fanatic.
Yeah.
And,
IFC Barcelona, man.
Yeah.
This is next level stuff.
I always wanted to visit the Camp Nou.
Oh, that was an amazing stadium.
Yeah. So I was like, whoa, I'm applying here.
Yeah.
Only place I applied to. Just because I was already down, I'm like, why not? Just apply. I ended up meeting all the qualifications and I got in almost instantly. And I couldn't really believe it because the UC programs are so strict that you have to apply about a year in advance.
Yeah, at least 8 months.
Yeah, this I applied 2 months in advance. Whew. Yeah, so it was so late. It was, it was fall quarter, and I was gonna go study abroad winter quarter, the next quarter. So it all happened so quick, and I just took it, and I was gonna take 4 classes out there.
Okay.
Photography, sports, international business, and management and ethics.
Okay.
And they were gonna count for UCR credits, correct. And something went wrong right before I was gonna book my flight. The management and ethics classes dropped. Yeah. Lack of student interest. And I'm like, wow. So I talked to my advisor, and she's like, yeah, you might have to come back for an extra quarter because of that. And I was like, should I, graduating or studying abroad? I'm like, I worked so hard, and I want to graduate on time. So, I stuck with graduating. But luckily, again, my advisors didn't quit on me, and they kept talking to them, letting them know, like, hey, he's the only senior in this program. Because I was a senior, it's my 4th year.
Exactly.
So most people don't even study abroad in senior year.
Exactly.
They do it earlier.
Get a chance,
yeah, so that's why everything was so rushed for me, and I kind of just went with the flow. And they emailed me back like, hey, we have a new class. It's a business class, entrepreneurship. And I was like, never thought of entrepreneurship, honestly. I've always wanted to own my own businesses, but I was like, that's later. I'm gonna learn that with practical stuff in life. So I was like, hey, like, if it counts for my credits, let's take it. Yeah, might as well do it. So I went ahead and did it, booked my trip, and I went over to Spain. Now, I went from January through the end of March, so about 3 months. Best 3 months of my life. I met, 100 different people that had different backgrounds. Oh, yeah. Completely different backgrounds. I'm talking about completely different backgrounds. Yeah. Not like here where we meet different people, but you find some similarities. Yeah. So it was crazy just talking to these people or just trying to talk to them. I know Spanish, I'm fluent in Spanish and English. So I had 2 languages to balance out.
But they speak Catalan.
So I learned Catalan. I learned Catalan because it's very similar to Spanish. They just, very, like they have different stuff.
Yeah, I saw the menus there. I was like, I have no idea what I'm looking at.
You can, you can, if you know Spanish fluently, you can understand it enough to comprehend what they're saying. Okay. But anyways, not only do they know Catalanian, but they also know French, German, and a bunch of different languages. So I at least had 2 common languages that I could talk to. But from there, that trip really opened my mind and perspective on life on what I wanted to do after college. And while it did that, it also eased my mind on what I wanted to do after college because I had those 3 months to really live life. Because when I come back, last quarter, push it, we're gonna graduate. So I really got to slow down in life and really see where I'm at. Because again, talking about my background, I'm not supposed to be where I am, or maybe I am. Depends how you look at it, you don't know. But most people that have my background aren't where I am today.
Exactly, yeah.
So I, wanted to use the American dream and what my dad sacrificed to get me over here, and I wanted to make it all worth it. So I'm a family man, so I wanted to do this for my family. I had missions and goals. The only problem is I didn't know how I was gonna reach those. Yep. I'm a 1st generation college student, 1st generation business owner. Only one to actually go to Spain, to Europe. None of my family's flown out there, so it was totally different. So I'm swimming by myself, no lifeguard on duty, nothing. Yeah. So I met my entrepreneurship professor. He actually ended up being also my international business professor. So I did both. Wow. So I did 2 classes a day, Mondays and Wednesdays, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Okay. And so Mondays and Wednesdays, I had back-to-back with him because I had international business in the morning. Right after that, I had entrepreneurship. Now, as you're kind of used to at UCR or any UC, the classes are very large. Yep. Right? So over there, it was kind of like how we are here. Talk, one-on-one, or in a group of 3 or 4. Well, we only had 8 people in that class. So sometimes people wouldn't show up, sometimes people wouldn't participate. Yeah. But there were 5 of us who would always participate in the entrepreneurship class. But that class taught me a lot because we got down to a lot of practical stuff. Yep. Besides all the life ventures or all the life stuff that I learned over there, it really helped me with what I wanted to do with my career. Because we sat down and kind of just talked business. And you're not talking to just anybody. Our professor walked the talk. He was a multi-millionaire, entrepreneur that had 8 different businesses. In fact, our first 5 classes were a topic, where each class was a different topic of how he started a business.
Wow.
And one of the most interesting one was how he started a business with just $20. And I was like, okay, I sat back and I was like, let me hear this.
Yeah.
Like, I've never been this close to somebody
who actually made
who
something.
made it, exactly. Yeah. And he was willing to teach us, so I took full advantage of that. But anyways, that class and that whole trip really helped me, because since the entrepreneurship class was very practical, he said, you're not gonna have any midterms, you're not gonna have any exams. I was happy. I was so tired of exams. But he said, we're gonna watch Shark Tank for half the show, like half the class.
Shark Tank.
Shark Tank. We sat down and watched Shark Tank. And the reason why is because the end of the course was gonna be just like Shark Tank.
Oh, okay.
Everybody had fake money
To pitch.
but everybody had to do their own individual business plan.
Okay.
And now I've been cutting hair since I was 14, and I've been working since I was 16.
Yeah.
So I've been supporting myself since before I graduated high school.
Yeah.
So my dad always helped, but I always wanted to help.
Exactly.
Too. Correct. We didn't have much support. So just taking this entrepreneurship class and learning from him, it was just so different than what I was used to over here, working, working for money and just really focusing on that 9 to 5, trying to get a good 9 to 5 job. But with him, he pushed me to do a business plan that I was thinking about doing.
Okay.
But I was too busy with my 9 to 5 and with school. So I took advantage of that class and I wrote my business plan. And I supported myself in college a lot because of cutting hair.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so I had a job. At one point I had 2 jobs, on top of cutting hair, on top of school.
Yeah.
So I was very, very busy. That's why I didn't get as involved in school as I wanted to. But doing that business plan, I really saw the niche that was needed in this Riverside community, at least UCR community, because I had line of people in my bathroom, and I was charging the same price as the barbershop.
Were you cutting hair in your dorms? Like fresher? Which dorm?
Eastlow.
Eastlow? Okay, yeah, because we have people in Westlow, Eastlow,
Correct.
everybody was cutting hair.
And I'll get to that later, why I want to do something with UCR, because it's still going on right now.
I know.
And I was not the only one. I actually never visited a barbershop in my 4 years of college, because in my freshman year, I was cutting on F4, which is the hall in Eastlow. Some guy was cutting in F2.
Yeah, that was my hall. That was
Harrison Lee, right?
Yep.
Harrison would cut my hair, and I would cut his. How great is that system? You sit down, I cut you up. I sit down, he cuts me up. So 4 years, every 2 weeks, we met up and we helped each other. We were, like, hey, you have your clients, I have mine. Let's teach each other techniques that we found. We were super supportive of our barber journey.
Yep.
But so I cut in Eastlow, I cut in Glenmore, I cut in Grand Mark, and I cut at a house. I did it all. Every time I was in my bathroom.
Yeah.
And it was just so packed. But I was like, why are you coming to me? Besides the quality, let's not talk about the quality. Let's talk about the experience, because I was learning this in services.
Yeah.
Why are you coming to me if there's an establishment that's open that's charging the same price as me?
And it's like 5 minutes away.
And it's 5 minutes away, you know? And it's the experience. They didn't feel comfortable enough. So there was a lot of problems that I saw in that industry that was in Riverside because they didn't really cater to students.
Yeah.
So I focused the business plan on the niche that we needed, and it's basically the students. There's 23,000 people over at UCR.
Yep.
There's a huge population.
It is.
So I pitched that to him, and everybody's ideas were just ideas that were coming up.
That's typical.
It's typical. But mine, it was like, hey, I've actually been building this idea for about 2 years. So when I pitched the idea, I was already pitching a proposal. And he liked the idea so much that he said something that really caught my eye. And because one of my classmates said, so if we make a good enough business plan, are you gonna make money out of it? He's an entrepreneur, money man, and we couldn't even hate if he did that. He said, no, I might help fund it, or I might help you do it. So that's where, a light came up, and I'm like, hey, okay, I could actually make a good business plan. He can maybe help me out. So I did the business plan. I worked with him. I made it, very, very nice and detailed. 25 pages. I used to hate them in school. because I wasn't doing it for myself.
You're not doing it for yourself. It's
Correct.
just work.
Exactly. So when I did it for myself, I was so into it. That's all I thought about at night. And I made that business plan, and I made that decision that I was actually going to open up a barbershop and salon. Well, just barbershop in the beginning when I was in Spain. And he was a big reason to why I did that, because he pushed me. And he didn't even stop. Once the quarter finished, we went to go have drinks. We went to go to the bar, and we had a few beers. And he said, "I'm gonna fly out to California, and we're gonna do this next month." And I was like, "Oh, things are getting real now." I was like, "All right, let's celebrate." You know, and I'm thinking like, okay, like people are always very, you know, they could be nice when they're drinking.
Yeah,
you know,
generous at a bar.
Generous, yeah. You know, he texted me after that when we said our goodbyes. He said goodbye to everybody except me. He said, "I'll see you soon." I was like, wow, okay. So when I came back here, I didn't really know how to react to it. You know, most of my friends were like, "You came back different," like, you know, and I did. I came back more determined, more focused, and more ambitious, a lot of stuff. And I came back, I was on school, and this business plan that I had, I was like, okay, step one is right here. Let's just follow what I had written, and let's go with the flow. And, you know, that's the reason why I started the shop, and that's a big reason to why I think of certain things, you know, or why I never judge a book by its cover.
Yeah.
Because over there I met somebody who if I would have saw him walk in, I'm like, oh, totally, she's not gonna hurt me. No, one of the most generous guys that's really willing to help you if you have ambitious, you know,
dreams and can actually accomplish it.
Yeah, he's all about, I want to see something from nothing to something. I already have my shit. I'm not even wanting to pick so much out. I want to see if it's actually, you know, like possible for, you know. So he saw the work ethic in me, and that's why he came out and he helped me get this lease that I have now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the origins of J'Bez Barbershop.
That's the origins of J'Bez Barbershop, yeah. And in fact, going back to the trip, then I visited Camp Nou. My dad came and visited me. My friends came and visited me. I met people from the East Coast, because again, I didn't go with the UCR program or the UC program. I went with Florida State University or something in Florida. And I met people from New York, from Boston, you know, from Puerto Rico, everywhere. And they're almost lifelong friends now.
Yep.
And I got to experience different countries with them, soccer fields, you know, different places, different churches. It was just a blast.
It's magnificent.
I definitely, all my younger clients, I always encourage them. Study
100%.
yeah.
I would say the one thing that everybody needs to do, especially for business, I think this is the most crucial thing for business. You have to study abroad, because you don't understand business until you see it in another country. Another environment, another culture. And not only that, is when you go abroad, like what you're talking about, you build that network of people that are from these different countries. So like, technically, I have a couch to sleep on in every country in the world, you know, like. It's
great, exactly. If I went to New York, they always invite me.
Yeah.
Every single month almost. They're like, hey, when are you gonna come out over here? Not only that, you bring up a great point, network.
Yeah.
Again, I wasn't around all these entrepreneurs, success, people who made it. Their parents were CEOs, you know, of financial, you know, institution. They had a lot of success, a lot of money, a lot of, you know, business, and I'm like, wow, like, and they're a great connection to have.
Yep.
Because if I want to pursue that, you know, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Exactly.
So that, you know, that helps out, because it all kind of happens naturally. You know, you become friends, then you find out what they're about, and now you will never remember. You know, you'll never forget them.
Yeah, I think that's so important. Yeah. And like we talk about, like you having those connections in other parts of the world, other countries, other cities, their perspective kind of rubs on you. You know, like you're talking about, you felt like a kind of a new man when you came back. You felt more motivated, because other people, when you're kind of stuck in this bubble of Riverside, right? People think the same way. But the second you leave, you see that other perspective.
You know, one thing that I noticed the most is we're in a huge bubble.
Yeah.
It's called California.
It's huge.
You know, it's huge. We're the best city in the world. We have the nicest beaches. We have the nicest weather. We have the nicest people. All wrong. You know, it's really about exploring the world. There's so much to see, so much to explore. But you can't blame people. You know, you don't know what you don't know. You can't blame
100%.
somebody for that. You know, so that's why I always encourage them. Like, hey, go check this place out in this other country. If you still think California is the best place, and you know, your opinion, that's your opinion. But I definitely think people are very, very close-minded here, and I love that I got a new perspective and I came. And then when I came back, I noticed it even more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the one thing. Once you come back, everything changes.
And everybody who travels says the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
You brought up a great point.
100%.
Yeah.
So going into the next topic, we're gonna start talking about barbershops. But before we do that, we're gonna go to the next beer. And this next beer, it's called Hop Stupid. So the name defines itself, right?
Yeah.
This is from Northern California. It's Lagunitas. It's one of my favorite breweries.
Okay.
But this beer, Petaluma is a little bit more north.
Okay.
So this beer, it's 8.1%. It's a little less than the last one, but you'll taste the difference. So cheers to that.
Cheers. Yeah, I taste the difference.
It's very hoppy. It's not like nice and smooth like this one, but the reason I like this one is it's very flavorful. So like you get that full taste in your mouth. But going off is so like obviously study abroad. You did this business plan. You built a business out of your business plan. You got funding through your professor. So where are you at now with your barbershop? Because I'm sure a lot of things have changed.
We started about a year ago.
Yeah.
And it's been a long, long year. I love the year though, but when we started, it was just me actually. It was really just me. And then I got a very good partner that was dedicated as well. But in the beginning, I didn't have anything. Sure, I just had a business, but I'm like, I can't do this by myself. So I didn't like the feeling of feeling alone. So I was like, no, like I want to bring somebody else in this. You know, I always said 100% of $100 is great, but 50% of $1,000 is even better. You know, so I stuck with that, and I found the right partners, people who would help me build this up. When we first started, I was actually still in school. I was in the last quarter of my school. And so I was taking midterms and finals, and I was still, trying to attend class. Luckily, a lot of my professors understood because I let them know the real reason, and I had proof to show them that I was actually doing that. So they all were okay with me turning in late assignments or not showing up to class, because when I started this, it wasn't just ready for me. I had to build our stations. I had to build the chairs. I had to build the front desk. I had to put the mirrors together, hang them up, put pictures up. Then on top of that, yes, I put everything on the business plan, but I just put, we're gonna have a software that has this and this. I had to try like 30 different softwares. I had to try 30 different POS systems before I found the right one. So everything was manual at first. So it was so much work to do. But when we started, it was, hey, we're building a barbershop near the UCR campus. We have UCR, we have specials for UCR. We have an interactive lounge area. We have games, and we have good quality haircuts. So we have the whole experience that caters to students. And now, where we're at now, we have, a staff of 12 people. It's not just me. We have barbers, we have stylists, we have braiders, we have eyelash, we have estheticians, we also have a suite for those estheticians that do eyebrow threading and lash extensions. So now we're not just a barbershop. We started as a barbershop, J'Bez Barbershop. Now we're J'Bez Barbershop and Salon. It's a unisex hair salon for everybody. Anything hair related we do. One-stop shop for all your hair. And we don't just cater to students. We cater a lot to students, but we also have a lot of locals. This week has been hectic. Last week was hectic, but it's all great for the business. And if I had to track 1 year ago of how we are this year, I would say the profit, the margin, the difference of before and now is probably multiplied times like 10.
Wow.
We've gotten a lot better since before. Obviously, we could take on more volume, but we're much more known. Before, I would tell people like, hey, we have a shop. I just started up a shop. We're located in the University Village. We're here, here, and here. And they're kind of shocked. They're like, what? Like, I never seen it there. And, I'm like, yeah, just come by. And when they come by, we just tell them to tell their friends. Now when we do that, if you were to come into our store and we'll be like, hey, like, tell your friends, like, dude, like my friend told me, like all my friends come here. So it's like, you know, it's getting to the point where it's like we're gonna help you, but everybody knows about you right now. So we're creating this buzz. You know, I got a lot of great insights from you, from other friends and from other colleagues, and we've put it all together to create that buzz around campus. So in a year, we've done a lot, not only staff-wise, we've done a lot for the community. We want to do more, and we've done a lot in our place. We've done one remodel. We're going on to our second, and like I was talking to you last week, we were looking to expand, you know, soon. And it's only been a year.
It's crazy.
I was thinking maybe 3 to 4 years I'll expand, but it's looking like about a year. So it's definitely, you know, you gotta follow a plan, right? But it never goes as planned.
No, never.
So I just try to stick to the main points, but it's like the plan is totally different. Yeah, so in a year, I went from having a barbershop to now I want to own a franchise of hair salons. The $1 million idea that I like to say is we want to take it to the campus. So that idea developed in Spain because he wasn't interested in just, you know, a barbershop, you know, that doesn't make that much money. He owns a hedge fund. That's one of the businesses he owns. So he sees a lot of money. So he invests in a lot of people. And that's not something that he would initially invest in. But my idea wasn't just a barbershop. It was a campus barbershop, now a campus barbershop and salon, where we're located right on campus and we offer these services to students, and if it's public university, we offer them to locals as well. But we offer them in a way that it's catered to them, that they feel like they're at home, because one of the biggest issues, since we're talking about barbershops, is people saw it as kind of like an errand. They have to go run and get their haircut. Kind of like going to the DMV. Nobody likes going to the DMV. And I don't like that they thought that, because before, when I was growing up, I used to love getting haircuts. The barbershop was where I would meet new people. We would talk sports. You know, I would get to vibe with the guys. They would teach me a lot in life. You know, you could learn so much in a barbershop.
100%.
And I didn't like the way it was shifting, but I got it. I got the reason why. You're not from Riverside, right? You're from San Diego. You came here for 4. Well, now you're on your 5th year. But originally, if you didn't do your master's here, you'd be here for 4 years. You can't build that lifelong relationship in 4 years. Because if you go back home, everybody has their barbers, but it's because they've been going to them since they were 8, since they were 9. Their family knows them, their cousins know them, their friends know them. We can't have that here. Most people that go to UCR aren't from Riverside, unfortunately. Or fortunately, actually. But they still deserve to have that place that they can almost call a home, you know, like where they feel safe. And we've built that. It was actually one of the main reasons why I wanted to start is I want to, you know, create a community for the students to come and feel like they can network, because a lot of students are actually very timid and shy. So they don't like to talk to people. And the number one thing about college is you have to take advantage of the networks that you have around.
That's 100%.
And if you don't, you're out of luck, because it's never gonna be this many people around you unless you go into Google or, you know, Amazon, then that's a different story. But you have to take advantage of the people that are around you. You know, you never know who you meet. You have to practice your elevator pitches. You have to practice, you know, networking. You have to practice so much, and most people don't do that. And they, because they haven't got out of their comfort zone to do that. So J'Bez is actually a place where where students or locals, and they come and hang out, but not just be on their phones. They could talk, they could play video games. Hopefully once we have the lounging to the new remodel, where they can do homemade, where they can drink their coffee. And that's where we're heading to now as in the business, because when we want to franchise it, and once we get on campus, and once we get onto another campus, we want to have that exact same model.
And you want to test what works and what doesn't.
Exactly. So everything is trial and error. So it's fun because it's like, okay, it's trial and error. Like, I know if I mess up, it's not completely over. And trust me, I've messed up a lot. I've messed up a lot. But it's trial and error right now. We're seeing what works, what doesn't. We got our logo, it's cool. You know, before we didn't have a logo. Yeah, like.
This is a shop.
Yeah, it was just a shop. You know, I didn't know all the stuff that came into a business till I actually started.
Yeah, and I think that's very important because a lot of people, they try to have this complete idea when they jump into a business. And I think that's a very bad approach because if you try to be a perfect idea, you'll never make a business. Let's be real here. No, there's no perfect idea that exists.
Perfect doesn't exist.
Exactly. What happens is you have to build a business, see what works, test it, go through that cycle as fast as possible, fail as quick as possible without losing as much cash, obviously. You gotta have that cash flow, and then build it from there. So obviously, you've succeeded and built a business that now fully functions, and obviously you have a very diverse barber set because you have barbers that speak multiple different languages.
6 languages.
6 languages, which is crazy because that's actually like building that community. But kind of going off of there, like where do you see this barbershop being in the like next 5 years?
Well, again, when I first started this, I would have told you something different. And if you ask me a year from now,
it's gonna be different. It's gonna be different.
What I see this for 5 years is I want to build the same thing in different campuses. I want to really emphasize on diversity and emphasize on a community outreach to where every store that we have has the same model and has the same vibes. Because one of the biggest compliments that we get as of now is there's always great vibes in here. Whether there's music playing, whether there's movies playing, or whether there's nothing playing. Our conversations are almost endless. Like sometimes we stop the conversation because I finished your haircut.
Yeah.
And it's not just me. My attitude or my personality is rubbing off on everybody. Because when they first came in, they weren't the same. When you look at them now, they'll tell you that they've grown from that. And it's not just me. It's the business partners, the employees. It's the name. The name is actually very significant, very powerful. And it's what we want to create. We actually care about our customers rather than just looking at another value. So to answer your question, in 5 years, where we want to be is we want to be in multiple universities. Not just cutting their hair, not just making money. We want to be helping people, hopefully creating new jobs because one of the biggest problems with barbershops is the fact that there's the business side of it. It's not there. It's not there.
All commission based.
Correct. It's all commission based and it's all cash flow. Most people, it's 2019. We're almost in 2020.
Exactly.
You know, like how do you not take a debit card? I get it. You get charged a fee. But, you know, there's so many different ways around it. But how do you not, take different types of payment, methods? And I just don't get that, and I never got that because most people don't even carry cash now. And so, the problem with that is there's no real numbers for it, so you can never really plan out. Because one thing I learned in business plan, numbers matter.
Oh yeah, dude.
Especially when you want to get funding, numbers matter. And that was my biggest problem when I first started. I had no numbers to back up. I was like, hey, I've been a barber, I know this, I'm not lying to you. These are the forecasted numbers. Unfortunately, there's no other numbers to really back up that. So if you walk into a barbershop and ask them hey, how much haircuts do you do a week? Or how much profit per haircut do you get? Or what's your annual, revenue? They're not gonna be able to. Even the owner won't be able to say it. Because most of it, you don't even account for it.
Well, that's why it's cash under the table.
Exactly, and that's why Great Clips and Salon and Supercuts got so big because they shifted more to the business, but a little too much to the business.
Yeah, it doesn't have the quality.
Exactly,
sacrifice the quality for.
So what I always say is the business that I started was a mixture of a hobby, which is cutting hair, and an education, which is business. You put those together, and you can really build something and change the industry. Again, and another thing that I want to add is most barbers are full-time. No vacation is not nothing because you have so many managers and it's the clients. I'm building actually a part-time position where hopefully more barbershops are aware of it and they can use those part-time positions. So other people who have other stuff going, you can't always be a barber. It's very, very time consuming. It's actually very hard on your body. So all these stuff I want to build and I want to have in each store, but I want it to really be a business to where we have the numbers, to where we show where we're a good barbershop, but we're a good business as well in all different locations. That way, we know what we're doing when we get into our next one. It's easier once you know the numbers, and we can actually be a chain. That's how a chain starts. So 5 years, I hope to be a chain. I hope to have those numbers. I hope to have that part-time position set up. And last but not least, I hope to be an instructor for barbering and cosmetology, because I take passion in that as well. And I really love that. So I would like to teach other people about cutting hair. So, you know, that's what I do now. If you come get a haircut, I try to, you know, so some people that really care about their hair and they don't know what they're doing, I'll point them to the mirror and I'll show them how I cut their hair. That way they understand what I did and why I did it. But not only are we talking about cutting hair, I try to teach entrepreneurship, just like how you do. And I want that to be spread out in each you know, company or each franchise. You know, teach the students something.
Yeah, I think that's so valuable. Always giving back, always building community and everything that you're doing.
Correct.
So I mean, finish up that beer, and we're gonna go into the last beer, and we'll go into the final conversation. So this final beer is a dessert beer. So this is a peanut butter stout. Ooh. So it's gonna have a nice little chocolatey taste on the top, and then it's gonna taste like peanut butter right after.
Okay.
It's dang.
Well, last cheers, bro. Tastes just like peanut butter.
Yeah, wait for the aftertaste, bro.
Yeah.
It's good
It's
stuff.
good. It's good. This is
it's good, but you gotta end on this because it's pretty heavy. It's a stout. You don't want to drink this and then have an IPA.
Now I see. Now I see why you did that.
There's an order to it.
Yeah.
So going off of that, so I mean, obviously you talked about building your business, where it's heading, and all that kind of stuff. But what kind of advice would you have for people that they understand the difference between being an owner of a business compared to working for a business? Because there's pros and cons, and a lot of people don't understand that, because we're in the age that like entrepreneurship is this hot topic and everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, but they don't understand the struggle that's actually involved with it.
Well, first off on that, it is a hot topic, and the reason why is because I think I read an article about that. Now there's I don't know what the number was, but I know there's like much more millionaires in this decade. That were created in this decade that, you know, were created in the past decades. And that's because a lot of times you can use social media, or you can just use technology or the internet to build a business, and you're an entrepreneur. And the problem with that is there's no overhead, so you don't really face a lot of risks and a lot of problems. So it's this hot topic that anybody wants to do it, but you can't just go and jump into it. So my best advice for somebody that wants to start their own business is surround yourself with the right people. The right 100%. People that not only will help you when you're down, and not only will, you know, be there for you, but also that support your business, the real supporter, because you need those supporters. But make mistakes. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Learn from people. Be open-minded. Analyze your business frequently, because every day something changes. We're in an age where, you know, everything's growing so rapidly that sometimes we forget, you know, that it actually is growing, and you get too comfortable in the position you're at now that you don't really see what's new in the world. So, you know, that comes with learning, because you made a mistake. Your business may be down this month or this year, but look at it why. You know, analyze your competitors, but really it's just don't be afraid to make mistakes. But be able to have that mindset to where you take responsibilities for your mistakes. You try to learn from them. You don't only leave it there. That's one of the biggest mistakes I did, was just leaving my errors to the side.
Can't do that.
That has to be on top of your priorities. Because an error is made for a reason. You know, it's made because it's not supposed to be that way. So you got to find a reason. You know, a lot of times I love to use, you know, math problems as you know, a way of life, because sometimes if you don't get the math problem right the first way, just reverse the whole equation. Do it from, you know, you have the answer, you have the question, you know, you just don't know what's in the middle. You started this way, you reverse it, exactly. Do that with businesses. You know, why isn't this working? Do that with businesses. And if you're a worker, it's fine. If you want to be an entrepreneur, learn from your, you know, colleagues, learn from your supervisors, learn it, because knowledge is very powerful. Knowledge is very dangerous because a lot of times you share those knowledge and people want you out of the business because you're looked as a threat. Be that threat. Don't be afraid to be that threat, because at the end of the day, if you're an employee, unfortunately, especially in the US, you're very disposable. They'll find you before you find yourself. And so don't be afraid to risk whatever you've built up in 20 years, because it sucks to say, you can lose that in a second.
You can, yeah.
So do stuff, you know, for the better of yourself. If you're an employee, you know, don't just work for the paycheck. Try to learn the company, try to learn the structure, and you can always use that to anything else that you use. If you really learn it. I use barbering, I use math problems, and I use barbering for life.
Everything, yeah.
You can really relate to anything, yeah. So, you know, don't be afraid to really step out of your comfort zone and ask these questions that you want to ask. And that was my problem. I was a great employee. I was just a bad worker. Like I would ask too many questions. They told me to do stuff. Like I said, I've been working since I was 16. I've had 9 different jobs. The reason why I would apply to jobs is because I want to learn the interview process. The reason why I want to learn the interview process is because I want to be able to interview somebody correctly.
Exactly, 100%.
So it's all a reason to do that. So I would apply just to apply. And sometimes I'll get the interview. So I'm like, all right, let's go to this interview. And I could say this, I have not been denied from one interview. It's only my first one. If I got an interview, I got the job. My first one was at Six Flags. I was 16. Later on that year, I applied again and I got the job. Yeah. You know, so that was the only time I got rejected from an interview because I knew what to say. I knew how to respond, and I knew how to create a relationship with somebody in a few seconds. But it's because I was afraid. I mean, I wasn't afraid of not getting the job. I was like, okay, like, I'm just applying just to apply. And actually, that ended up helping me. I ended up getting all the jobs that I applied for. So sometimes you just gotta step out of that comfort zone, because I know that having a job, you get secured money, you get to provide for your family, all that, you know.
It's important.
It's important. But if you wanna step out of that range and you wanna be one of that 1% or 10%, whatever you wanna be, you have to step out of your comfort zone.
You gotta take risks.
You gotta take risks, you have to make errors, and you have to, you know, learn from them. And that's my biggest, you know, that's my best advice for somebody, whether you're 15, whether you're 20, whether you're 30, at the end, you know, you're gonna learn at some point. So I'll tell you this, I'd like to tell people this, and whenever you learn it, that's great. You know, at least you learned it.
100%. And I also like to kind of like piggyback off that. Like, I think it's so important, anybody who does business or want to be an entrepreneur or anything like that, you got to understand sales. Because not even entrepreneurship, honestly, like even if you're trying to get a job, you got to be able to sell yourself. You got to understand sales. So I think everybody should have a sales job at least once in their life. It doesn't matter what it is, just get a sales job.
I cannot agree with you more than with that, because one quote, I've done sales. One quote that one guy told me is, people don't like to be sold to, they like to buy. And you can, however you understand that, you know, go ahead. But the way I understood that is, whether you're selling somebody or whether you're selling yourself in an interview, you have to make it to where whoever's on the other end is getting more of a benefit than you are.
Exactly.
So if I'm a salesperson, I'm selling you a car, I want you to say that I bought a car, not this guy sold it to me. I want you to say that I had more benefit in me buying it than this guy selling it to me. And same with the interview. I have more benefit in this guy working for me than him having a job.
Me paying him compared to me working for me.
Exactly. So the benefit has to be on the other person. So, you know, I agree with that. You should always have a sales job. Always. 100%. Always, yeah.
All right, to close this out, I mean, I know you already talked about like your one piece of advice, but if there was one final statement you want to say to anybody listening, whether it be a college student, an entrepreneur, a barber, anybody, what is that one piece of advice? I know we already talked about it, but like, what is that one piece final statement you want to say to them?
Create connections, even your enemies. Let them be connections, create connections. Because if you're a barber, if you get out of that industry, you start, for example, making hair products. You sell to those barbers.
100%.
You know, a lot of times your enemies aren't always your enemies. And so make connections. You never know, never close the door with anybody. You never know when I may need you or I may need somebody else. Never close the door on anybody. That's my best advice for somebody. Never close the door on anybody, unless you have to, but you know.
That's fair enough. Never burn bridges. All right, cheers to that, man.
All right, bro.
Thank you guys for watching The Buzz. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe to get more free logic. Also, please follow us on our social media platforms linked below. See you guys next time. Cheers.